Madam Chair, I still do not see Commissioner Coolidge on.
Can somebody give him a call or a text and see if he's going to come today?
Doing that now.
Okay, thank you. And then we already confirmed that Commissioner Olson can't make it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anna, is one of our AGs on the call with us on the meeting?
Yes, Valerie is.
Valerie, can you hear me?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Valerie, if we don't get a quorum, can we still have any kind of an informational meeting without making any decisions, or do we have to postpone the entire meeting?
Let me just review, just one moment.
Okay, that's fine.
One moment.
Sure.
I can't go into executive session.
Right.
Could you give me a call, Madam Chair?
Sure. Yeah.
Fine. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anna, can somebody
Do you need my telephone number, Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to drown out my dogs.
Do you
So
want
if
me
you,
to call?
yeah,
I have your-
yeah, go ahead and give me a call on my cell phone, please.
We have Commissioner Coolidge on the line.
Oh, lovely. Okay, there we go.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I've been on since 10. I thought we were waiting on somebody else.
Oh, well, thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
Would you like for me to get started?
Yes, Anna, please.
Good morning. My name is Ana Armenta. I am the Arizona Racing Commission Secretary. Today is April 12, 2024. This is the 722nd Arizona Racing Commission meeting taking place via Google Meet. And I will do the roll call. Madam Chair,
I've been trying for the
Here.
last 5 minutes to get the fucking speaker to.
Vice Chair
I can't get-
Olson, absent. Commissioner Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner York.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. It is now 10:04 a.m. and the floor is yours, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And let me just start, well, let's call to order this 722nd Arizona Racing Commission meeting for Friday, April 12th, 2024. Let me ask everybody to please take a look and mute your mics. I am getting background noise from the various attendees, and it's a big attendance, which I love, but let's make sure that all of our mics are muted unless you're speaking. And with that, let's move down to action item B1, the award of the annual adoption grant. And of course, we can go into executive session if it's necessary, just make a motion. In the meantime, we're looking at Desert Oasis Rescue in Tucson. Do I have anybody that wants to speak on this item? Mr. Yother, would you like to speak?
Madam Chairman, this is Lloyd Yother again. I'm just trying to figure out, I've been working for the last 15 minutes trying to get my voice, mic to work. Can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully. Thank you.
Very good. I finally got it done. Not bad for an
Right.
old man. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do I have any reports from the staff on this award of the adoption grant to Desert Oasis Rescue?
Madam Chair, this is Brian Duncan from the department.
Yes, sir,
Uh,
please.
Yep, all documents have been turned in for Desert Oasis Rescue. Desert Oasis does use the grant funds to purchase hay and supplements and other grains for the horses. Um, I have spoken with Miss Dewey and on a few times on the great job she and her team do with the adoption program they have. One of the positive notes I do like about it is Desert Oasis, they do ensure that the adopted horses are going to good homes, that they're not going to just anyone. They do make sure that they're not being purchased or for resale or for auction. So with that being said, the department would recommend that Desert Oasis Rescue be granted the adoption funds for 2024.
Tell me, Mr. Duncan, how does it determine, is there more than one applicant for this grant? And does the staff make that decision?
The commission would make the decision. It is open. This is the only grant that, or I'm sorry, the only rescue that decided to apply for it.
Okay, great. Do I have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Second? I'll
Madam Chair,
second. it.
to
Second.
clarify, the motion is to approve, award the grant.
That's correct. This is a motion to award the annual adoption grant to Desert Oasis Rescue. And I have a motion from Commissioner Coolidge, and I'll make a second on that. Anna?
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Coolidge and a second by French Contreras. I will take the roll. Madam French Contreras,
Yes.
Vice Chair is absent. Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
with a total of 3 yeses, that motion passes. Thank you. Madam Chair, you're on mute.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Anna. My apologies, folks. We're moving down to agenda item B2, executive session under ARS 38-431-03A3 to discuss legal update regarding the Sims versus Sims case and the Sims versus Arizona Racing regarding a racing license for Ronald Sims. And the commission, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to go into executive session.
Second.
Do I? Thank you. Anna?
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner York and a second by Commissioner Coolidge. I will call the roll. Madam Chair, French
Yes.
Contreras, Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
with a total of 3. Thank you. That motion passes and we will move into executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. Bear with us, folks. We'll be back.
Who is at the house right now? Your daughter?
My little sister,
Okay.
his daughters,
Okay.
his two daughters.
We'll give Commissioner York a few minutes to get back in.
Yeah, just let everybody know she has a short holdup, so we might be a minute getting back into regular session. I appreciate everybody's patience when we do have to go into these executive sessions. I know it's tough for you guys when we hop in and out, so I appreciate all of you. Thanks.
She's in. Do you want me to go ahead and get started, Madam Chair?
Yes, please take the roll call.
Madam Chair French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner York.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. It is now 10:25 a.m. and the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, let's move down to, I'm having trouble seeing my screen here. I apologize. Let's move down to the next item. If I can get it up here. Bear with me, folks. Sorry about that. This is what happens when you get spoiled with two screens. So here we go. So it's discussion now on whether the commission, item B3, discussion on whether the commission has the authority to establish a benevolent or other funds to support the health, safety, and welfare of what is referred to as pony horses that are used in the operation of commercial horse racing in Arizona. And again, we may go into executive session, but let's see where we can get with this. So, do we have a staff report or anybody wants to provide some input on this?
Madam Chair, this is Director Casillas. I'll address the matter.
Thank you, sir.
All right. In one of the past commission meetings, one of the licensees brought up the subject matter regarding pony horses, and the question was whether the division or the racing commission has the authority to establish a benevolent or other fund to support the health, safety, and welfare of pony horses. I guess the short answer is no, the commission or the division does not have that authority to create a fund for pony horses. In doing the due diligence concerning this matter, looked at every ARS statute regarding horse racing. There's various statutes that address various types of horses, thoroughbreds, quarter horses, stallions, agriculture funds, various funds that the legislature created to establish monies that can be held by the division and distributed per statute to these specific types of horses and entities. However, under statute, I believe it's 113.1.01, it does authorize the division to accept grants or donations that could be used in the Racing Regulatory Fund to support the mission of the department. With that being said, the department could take donations from various entities or parties to fund the pony horses. However, we cannot use established funds that are specifically allocated for the various funds and horses, like I said, thoroughbreds, quarter horses, stallions that exist currently. The only thing that is not allocated and appropriated by the legislature is the retired racehorse adoption fund, and that is funded by surcharges on any kind of civil penalties. So with that being said, there's always a possibility that individuals could reach out to the Arizona Horsemen's Benevolent Protection Association to see if there's any possibility that they can make contributions for the pony horses. However, that can be challenged, as statute specifically says that any of the live horse racing simulcast funds are to be used for horses that run live or purse monies. So not knowing that if they did that and it was challenged, that they would be able to win the case of that matter. So bottom line is that I will basically inform the licensees that under Administrative Code R19.2, 112.4 basically says that any licensee that has horses on the track has a responsibility for the control, custody, supervision of the horses. They must protect them from cruelty, mistreatment, neglect, and abuse. Bottom line, the licensees, owners of the horses have a responsibility to care for their horses. Not to say that they may not need some assistance, some support occasionally here and there, but I just want to give you what the legal facts are regarding current statutes and where it stands. So like I said, the short answer is no, the commission or the division do not have the authority to establish that kind of fund.
Thank you, Director. Oh, and without going down a rabbit hole, and I'm not going to specifically ask for a legal opinion on the matter, but I would have concerns that extending the authority into the pony horses creates another whole category of staffing as well. We would have, I don't know how much staffing or how much you'd have to have another whole division or department if you start looking into the health, safety, and welfare of these pony horses. I would think, I would caution that we've got to be careful how far we reach into someone's personal property, and that's what they are. There are statutes out there that protect animals, period, horses, dogs, etc., and protect their health, safety, and welfare. So I would suspect that there's other avenues that can be pursued without asking the Racing Commission to take on that authority. Commissioner York, you had thoughts? I think you're on mute, Commissioner.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Madam Chair, Director Casillas, could you elaborate a little bit on the AAC R19-2-1124 and what jurisdiction you have under that and what you're able to do?
Yes, Commissioner York. Bottom line is that under the rule, the licensees, owners of the horses on track have the responsibility to maintain control of their horses and subject them to proper safety and health conditions and what have you. They should not be mistreating them, neglecting them, and abusing them. Over the years, we've had a few cases that have occurred where a licensee left the track, left the horse there, was not being fed and what have you. And I believe HBTA had to step in at one point to provide some feed and what have you, and find a home for the horse. That does occur occasionally. Stewards will have an investigation done and take an action against that licensee when possible and when authorized to do so.
So are you able to do that in this case? And would you need authorization from the commission?
Uh, In a case of abuse or mistreatment, no, we would not need authorization from the commission. It's a matter of the Stewart's making a ruling on the matter and going forward from there.
And that would be my thoughts, is they also have to police their own. And I would think that there's steps that the track can take, that the HBPA can take without it getting as far as the commission and another whole fund for the safety of these pony horses. I would like to think that it would be unnecessary for us to step in, and I would be cautious about extending our authority that far. Do we often have issues where, I know this has been brought up once, but I would like to think that this is a rare situation, and perhaps the other issue is whether or not Phoenix PD or animal cruelty would be involved in this if it extended that deeply.
Typically, the cases that we've had have been few and apart over the years. This isn't something that occurs frequently. So I don't look at it as a major issue going forward that needs to be addressed with any specific type of immediate action. I think as we go forward, we can monitor and see how things go going forward.
Commissioner York, your thoughts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Has the situation with this particular horse that was identified in the meeting last month been taken care of, or is it ongoing?
I'm not quite certain if there was a specific horse that was being referenced in this matter, if it was one that I'm thinking about. Supposedly that horse got removed from the track and taken to state of Washington, like the week after that meeting had occurred.
Thank you, Director.
All right. Do I have any other comments, any requests for public comment before I move down to B4?
Nope, all set.
Thank you. All right, let's move on down to B4, discussion on tracks, maintenance and safety. Staff, do you have a report on this?
So Chair, I can go ahead and address that. This is Juan Estrada from the Department of Gaming.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada, go ahead.
The inspection and track maintenance safety is still ongoing. I mean, we're currently still doing inspections, looking even forward to just in case Turf Paradise decides to run. There's certain items where we are coming across that would like to sit with Mr. Francia to discuss and make them aware of things that we're finding. They're not concrete as we speak, but we're still working with them to make sure that those items get addressed. When the time comes, we'll go ahead and issue you guys a report or another list of items that we're finding. I know currently they're having some issues with the track surface, but as I've been told that those items have been or are trying to be addressed to rectify the issue. With that said, we also had our first safety meeting, which went well. Dr. Gell will be able to discuss that a little further down the agenda. Also, just to let you know, we also have another meeting coming up here April 19th, which will be our second racetrack safety meeting at 9 a.m. So that's all the update I have so far.
And that's April 19th at 9 a.m. Where is that going to be at?
That's going to be in Mr. Francia's office.
At Turf Paradise?
Yes, sir.
And how are we doing with the footing there at Turf Paradise?
So those are items that are being looked at. Just to give you a little further update, I was out at the track yesterday, inspecting the equipment, inspecting the racetrack. Again, I'm not a racetrack guy, but I can definitely tell you that something didn't look right, and we made sure we addressed it, and hopefully they're taking care of it now when there's no racing out at the racetrack.
Is Mr. Francia or somebody available from Turf Paradise to extrapolate on that just a little bit?
Be you.
Yes, Commissioner, I am present.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. I trust
Good.
the commissioners are well.
Yes, sir. So can you give us a little bit more input on the footing that's going on with the track?
Yes, the biggest challenge this year in regards to footing is to, ideally what you want to have is from rail to rail that the surface is even. If it's at 3 inches, the top surface, then it should be 3 inches from the inner rail to the outer rail. And we've had challenges this year with that. Some of them induced by the rains. We've had heavy rains, and when that happens, action has to be taken where you seal the track with a wheel packer that we have, and that compresses the earth. Once you open it back up, you scratch it open, and oftentimes you're going to have an unevenness. What we did do at the last meeting we recently had here on track, we advised the track superintendent to switch the way he was using his harrows. And by that, we wanted to see if we have 4 harrows. We call them 2 greens and 2 whites. And by switching them, we wanted to see if that would make a difference. It did, but not the difference that we wanted. So we readjusted prior to this week. And what I've noticed with this week's racing is more horses are winning along the inside than the previous week, where we had some difficulties. So that was a good first step. But right now, as we speak, the track crew is out there. Friday is renovation day. And what they are doing is they will begin, the 2 blades will come out and they will push earth from the inside to the outside, because that's how the earth travels. It will go from outside to inside, and that's how they will start. They will then bring out the what they call the ripper, and that digs the earth down deeper than the 3-inch cushion. And we're bringing that earth up, then we till it, then we harrow it. And again, while we are doing this, we are measuring each step along the way. You want to be 3 inches or whatever, 3.5 inches, whatever it happens to be. You want that to be uniform all around the racetrack and from rail to rail. But it has been a challenge this year to keep it where there is a bias, a track bias, and that's not good for the horses. It's not good for the betting public, but it's something we have been aware of, and making every attempt to get that corrected. I do wish to point out one thing, and it should not go unnoticed. We are now through 44 days of the racing season, and I had hoped, we had all hoped that we could get through the meet without a fatality. We've had one. We've had one fatality since the race meet began. That is an indication that the track surface is safe. Is it exactly how we want it? No, but we are aware of the problem and taking corrective action to get things evened out for the main track surface. Is that helpful, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Francia. And I'm sure we'll get more information from Dr. Gale as we move down the agenda. Mr. Nolan, Stephen, did you want to comment on this? I have your name for B4.
Yeah, if I could just be real brief. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I'd like to just make an observation over the last 4 months that this facility really didn't have the opportunity to be brought up to par prior to because of the on again, off again, on again, off again situation. We're hoping to move forward from that. I also believe that our state regulators, along with the federal oversight HISA, kind of had to waive some the 90-day rule in order to make it happen for our industry. And I'm very thankful for that. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is we have a chance now to come into the end of a meet. If there is going to be a meet next year, that those things could start to be accomplished after the Kentucky Derby Day, after we close, not having what was known as Groundhog Day in September, October. But I just want to say, let's move forward. Mr. Hutton's brought it to your attention. The first rule under the responsibilities, it's clean, neat, safe, compliance, immediate. Shouldn't be open for discussion. It should be ordered. It should be done if it is one of those problems, clean, neat, or safe. And I think that the legislature has empowered you to take those responsibilities seriously. So with that said, I appreciate the time. I thank the bending of some rules just to make a race meet happen. And we try to move forward so it doesn't happen again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments before we drop down to B5? Okay, with that being said, let's drop down to B5. That's the simulcast agreements pursuant to ARS 5-112U. This is a Turf Paradise. We have Sam Houston Race Park, Belmont Park, Finger Lakes, Gulfstream Park, Pimlico Mountaineering Park, Hastings, Belterra Park, Century Mile, Churchill Downs, Delta Downs, Bandul, Louisiana Downs, Thistle Downs, and Woodbine. Does the staff have any comments on this, or is everything complete for these applications?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did supply and review all the contracts. All of them look to be in order. The division would recommend the 5112U contracts be approved for all items in B4A 1 through 15.
Do I have a motion on that?
Isn't it B5A?
It's correct, B5A.
Okay. I move to approve B5A 1 through 15.
Second.
Thank you. Anna?
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner York and a second by Commissioner Coolidge. I will call the roll. Madam Chair, French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York.
Yes.
With a total of 3 yeses, thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you, folks. All right, dropping down to number 6, simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3. We have Turf Paradise 1 through 15 is Sam Houston Race Park, Belmont Park, Finger Lakes, Gulfstream Park, Pimlico Mountaineering Park, Hastings Park, Belterra Park, Century Mile, Churchill Downs, Delta Downs, Bandul, Louisiana Downs, Thistle Downs, and Woodbine. And I do see that all of them are pending some documentation except for Sam Houston Race Park. Is there a commission staff that would like to comment on these?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have an update on items in B6A.
Okay, go ahead.
Items 2 Belmont Park, 3 Finger Lakes, and 4 Gulfstream. They are also now complete along with Sam Houston. Since we did receive the Arizona HBPA approval documentation that I did send all commissioners yesterday. Also as a quick reminder that the approval of the Arizona HBPA only goes through May 31st. These simulcasts will go beyond that. And as the commission has done in the last few meetings, you may need to do conditional approvals to go beyond the date of May 31st. With that being said, the department would recommend that items 1 through 4 be approved to May 31st, and if needed, do a conditional approval beyond the 31st, with the HBPA agreement being extended and turned into the department. And then for items 5 through 15, the department would recommend they be conditionally approved, pending the rest of all the documentation being received. And again, as well, they are also beyond May 31st. I don't know if the commission wants to do another conditional approval pending HBPA agreement being extended beyond that. But I just wanted to make sure that commission was aware of that as well.
Commissioner York, you raised your hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Duncan, could we just do a conditional approve on all 15? Or do we have to separate them out?
I think you mean in regards to the conditional approval past May 31st, correct?
Well, there's 2 levels of conditional approve. All of them are past May 31st.
Right.
And 5 through 15 are missing documentation.
Mhm.
I just don't know how we need to parse that out. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that commissioners, that would be up to you. If you wanted to do a conditional that all documentation be turned in before the signal gets turned on, the department will make sure that all documents are turned in. We can do it that way if you'd like.
Okay, but is that 2 motions or 1? For the May 31st and documentation?
Again, I think you can still do a conditional on all of them as one motion, and then I'll make sure that all documents are turned in.
Okay. So I'll give this a shot.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. I move to conditionally approve B6A 1 through 15 with 5 through 15 signal not turned on until all documentation is, and 1 through 15 approved through May 31st and conditionally approved after that.
We might need to amend this a little bit. What I think we need to do on 6A 1 through 4 is we do approve those through May 31st with conditional beyond that, correct? Valerie?
Okay, so it's two motions then.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Okay. Okay.
Do we need to retract that first motion you made then? I think so.
I agree.
Okay.
Do I need to retract it?
Yes, please.
I retract it.
There we go. All right, go ahead. Take another shot at it.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Val Marciano, could the commission go into executive session for a moment?
Absolutely. I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Anna?
Yes. Thank you. I will call the roll. Madam Chair, French
Yes.
Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York.
Yes.
Sorry, let me retract a little bit with a motion by Madam Chair and a second by, I believe it was Commissioner York.
Correct.
Okay, we will be going into executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. Be patient with us, folks. We'll be right back.
Look, Ms. Baxter, I will call the board. Madam Chair, French Contreras,
Here.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner York.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. It is now 10:03. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate your patience while we get everything organized. We're back to B5A. No, we're back to B5B or 6. I'm sorry, 6A. I can't get my agendas right. For the simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3. Do I have any comments or motions from the commission?
And Madam Chair, may I make a motion, please?
Yes, sir.
I would move that we approve 6A 1 through 4 under a conditional approval for the contracted date of May 31st to revisit in the next meeting accordingly.
And I will second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Coolidge and a second by Madam Chair French Contreras. I will call the roll. Madam Chair French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York.
Yes.
Thank you. With a total of 3 yeses, that motion passes. Was that conditional approval? Or just?
Yes, it
approval?
is.
Unconditional approval.
It's a conditional approval with the dates ending March 31st.
Thank you. That motion passes with
May
conditional approval.
31st.
Or excuse me, May 31st. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Do we have that, Anna? You have that one down?
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah, right. You're welcome. All right, let's move down. Do we have another motion for the remaining items on there?
Sure, Madam Chair, I'll make another motion.
Thank you, sir.
I would move that we conditionally approve 6A 5 through 15. Pursuant that the permittee receives all the prerequisite information and leave it to the department to make final approval so that permittee doesn't see delay.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, but also May 31st on this one, right?
I didn't.
yeah,
Is
that's-
it?
Yeah,
If I could amend my approval,
absolutely.
I would also assign a termination date of this approval on May 31st to revisit for the next meeting as well.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Coolidge and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Madam Chair French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York.
Yes.
Thank you. With a total of 3 yeses, that motion passes with conditional approval.
Thank you. And I would ask the staff if you could add these agenda or these approvals to the next meeting in May so that we can address the remaining dates pending the documentation for anything past May 31st.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything else on this one? Sorry for the confusion on that. We're dropping down to C. These are the informational reports. We start with number 1, track safety report. Dr. Gale, are you available?
Yes, thank you, Chair French Contreras and the commissioners. I'm going to have a fair amount of information to relay. I want to touch again on the Safety and Welfare Committee meeting that was held on May 29th. This is a HISA mandated group, which is made up of veterinarians, the track management, the track maintenance folks, horsemen represented by their organizations, as well as trainers, the medical staff, and regulatory personnel. The main agenda items that we went over this first meeting was to review just in general the horse deaths that had occurred at that time. I'll go into more detail on that later, as well as some rider injuries or workers, and then the safety response. We did have a pretty vigorous discussion about the track maintenance. And so that wound up with some additional meetings and the actions that Mr. Francia discussed earlier. We are planning to have our next meeting on April 19th. At that time, we will be able to do a more thorough review of the, actually, there have been 2 race-related fatalities. And again, I'll touch on that in just a moment. So far at this meet, the main theme of what I'm going to talk about is that I think overall the biggest change from previous years to this year is increased scrutiny. Increased scrutiny of the horses by the veterinary team, also increased scrutiny of the track as well by pretty much everyone involved. And just in general, all factors that go into ensuring the safety and welfare of the horses. So thus far at the meet through this yesterday, we've had 2,626 starts. Of those, 2,097 have been thoroughbreds and 529 have been quarter horses. As far as the thoroughbreds, it's been 1,870 on the dirt and 227 on the turf. I do apologize for not having this in writing to you, but I will certainly type this up and give you these figures so you have them for reference in the future. We did have 3 days of racing canceled. On February 8th, we had 1 race that ran and the remainder of the card canceled. March 7th, racing was canceled, and April 1st. And again, as Mr. Francia mentioned, this was due to heavy rains that made the track not useful for racing on those days. Those races, a number of those races have been made up by adding races on later dates. So to keep the number of races, especially some of the stakes and trial races, get those done. So out of the 2,600 plus starts to date, we have had 9 horses vanned off for various reasons. 2 of those have been the catastrophic injuries that I mentioned. One was on the dirt track, a horse that had an ankle injury. The other was on the turf track, a horse that had a cannon bone injury, condylar fracture. Overall, the number of deaths that have occurred for various reasons, we've had 4 horses succumb to illness. We've had 5 horses have injuries during training hours, and then again, the 2 during racing. This gives us an overall racing fatality rate. And I should mention the 2 racing fatalities were both thoroughbreds, and actually all 11 fatalities during this meet have been thoroughbreds. We've not had any problems with quarter horses. So overall, the fatality rate for the meet thus far is 0.95. Again, in the past, we have been 2 or more per 1,000 horses breaking down during racing. And again, this rate applies to thoroughbreds for comparison across the country. Again, the national rate, I believe now is 1.39. And just breaking that down a bit further, with the 1 fatality on dirt, our rate is or excuse me, yes, 0.53 per thousand. On the turf with the fewer number of races, the rate is 4.4. I think that's reflective of the small amount of starts in that category. I believe there's a few changes that have come about by virtue of our cooperation with HISA that can account for some of these changes. Again, I would also state that management and track maintenance has played a role. Anytime a horse has a breakdown, it's always multiple factors that come into play. And so again, our success is a reflection of everyone working together to make that happen. One of the big changes has been medication. There is no medication allowed within 48 hours of racing. And then of the medications that are used therapeutically, limits are lower than they have been previously, especially in Arizona. The other thing that's a big change this year is not only do we work horses off the vet list for lameness issues, HISA also requires horses that haven't raced in 1 year and also horses that haven't started before their before they turn 4 years old to work off the vet list, which includes their attending veterinarian approving them to go ahead and work. Our training or track veterinarian does a pre-work exam. They work 5 furlongs, and then she again checks them after, and then they are tested. All these horses are tested. So I will get a more detailed report to you again about vet list works at the next meeting in terms of how many horses we've worked, how many have passed, how many have not passed, and what reasons. The last thing I would mention is the void claim rule is a different, that's a different thing for Arizona, first time this year. And there have been 222 horses claimed out of the 2,097 starts. Again, mainly thoroughbreds are claimed. There's only a few claiming races offered in quarter horses. And of those 222 total claims, 24 have been voided. And those are for various reasons. It can be either unsoundness, medical distress, any other kind of reason that the horse might not be fit to race. And again, for the next meeting, I intend to do a little more detailed report on that in terms of price, age, and then which horses maybe are able to return to racing, that sort of information. I believe that's the main thing that I have. I'd certainly entertain any questions from the commissioners.
Dr. Gale, your work is always appreciated. I thank you very much. Are you finding a heavier workload for yourself and others with the HISA requirements?
Yes, that's a true thing, and we have added one additional veterinarian on a daily basis, which has helped with that workload, not only for the HISA requirements. The one thing I didn't mention is we're completing 99% of pre-race exams, very few being missed. So again, that's one more positive. And then HIWU testing is another area that we're doing, not only testing on race winners, we're doing about 5 or 6 other horses in the thoroughbreds, and we also do that with the quarter horses. So we're testing approximately on an 8-horse card, 14, 15 horses, as well as doing out of competition testing on horses that are selected by HIWU. And those are horses that are not racing on that particular day, but are active at the track. So yes, it's the days are longer. The other thing I didn't mention is going through all the entered horses and screening them for risk factors for injury. And so that allows the veterinarians to pay special attention to horses that might be at higher risk of injury. And then again, the other thing is the veterinarians all meet prior to the races starting to discuss any horses of concern. And then also again at the end of the day to discuss any horses that need to be put on the vet list because they're come off the track lame. And again, any other horses that we want to go recheck and see because maybe they looked a little bit off as they were coming off the track. So again, that the scrutiny has been much increased, and yes, it does take a greater effort.
Is there still an opening on the veterinary staff, or is everything filled now?
We've been with the combination of veterinarians, the part-time veterinarians, we've been able to cover the testing, the void claim, and additionally the examination. So it certainly is, I believe, an open position. Another full-time veterinarian would be fantastic. And perhaps in the future we'll have that.
Thank you, Dr. Gale. Commissioner York, you had a question?
I just wanted to thank Dr. Gale and her team for the tremendous effort. It's certainly appreciate the depth at which you went into all the detail today, but really appreciate the effort. I know just to keep the horses and riders safe, we're very thankful.
Thank you for that.
Any other comments or questions before we drop down to budget report? All right, do we have a staff member for budget report?
Yes, ma'am. This is Latrina Roseman here with the department.
Good morning. How are good at almost, yeah, still morning. Good
Yes,
morning.
Good morning. Good
All
morning, Chair and Commissioners. So I'm going to give you a report here. This is the cash balance as of March 31st. We're at $2,473,000. We're still projected to spend roughly $2.2 million through the end of the year. And we will be rewarding, giving out those Breeders' Awards of $250,000 per statue. Next, I'll go over our monthly activity for the month of March. So our RWA, we collected $185,000. Pari-Mutuel, $18,000. Along with boxing fees of $6,700 and racing fees of $23,100. So the total collected for the month of March was $234,303. Dropping down to actually our expenses. So payroll and related expenses was $144,000. Little over $1,000 for legal costs for the month. Dropping down to all the other contracted and temp services was $53,352. So the total expenses for the month was $199,000 for the month of March. Next slide, please. And here's is just a slide showing our racing appropriation. And as you can see that we are spending kind of on track of what we are expected to spend for the year. That's what this scale is showing. And then the last slide is our cash balance. This is also kind of a depiction of what we are spending for the year, or what we have spent thus far for the year, I should say. Any questions?
Great. So the white column is what has been spent or what we've got. So we're under budget?
At this point, yes.
Okay, good. Any questions from commissioners or any of the public? Okay, let's drop down to legislative update.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, for the record, Jasmine Zen, legislative intern for the Arizona Department of Gaming. So today's the 96th day of the legislative session, and there have been a total of 1,629 bills introduced this year. There are 3 bills I would like to highlight for you all today. First, I would like to cover Senate Bill 1260, which would prohibit simulcasting on dog racing outside of the US on July 1st, 2024, and prohibit simulcasting in the US at the end of 2029. An amendment was passed by the House that further specifies that pari-mutuel wagering is prohibited in Arizona. The bill passed a 3rd read with a 33-24 vote and will have to go back to the Senate for a final read. Secondly, there's Senate Bill 1575. Initially, this bill consolidated the Arizona Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts Commission, the Arizona Racing Commission, and the Department of Gaming into a newly formed gaming commission. In the House, there were multiple amendments to this bill. This removed the Arizona Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts Commission and added 3 members who are experienced in horse racing to the commission, and created a board that selects members for this gaming commission. The bill passed through the committee of the whole last week and is awaiting a 3rd reading on the House floor. On a more positive note, the House Bill 2415, which is our Racing Commission continuation bill, was heard on the Senate floor this past Wednesday and passed. The bill will be now heading to the governor's desk, and we expect to hear if it is signed in the upcoming days. And with that, Madam Chair and members, I am happy to answer any questions.
Well, I, for one, really appreciate all your hard work and the reports that you send out regarding legislation. It's been a really busy season. It looks like they're going to extend on past their expected time to end. So this is going to be a longer session than anticipated. What, if anything, do you think is happening as far as the governor approving that extension of the Arizona Racing Commission pending the legislation that's going forth that would combine all of these gaming commissions?
Madam Chair, it's my understanding that the Racing Commission would still be consolidated into the Gaming Commission if Senate Bill 1575 were to pass.
And that's a 6-member commission, so they have an even.
It would be a 9-member commission.
Okay, a 9-member. So the 6 is the addition that they had when
the addition to the amendment that was made for the 1575 was to add 3 more members to the commission who have experience in horse racing.
Okay, all right. And if any of the other commissioners or any of the public want more information on this legislation, they can reach out to you or Max, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I would suggest that we follow this and see how it's going. So any other reports on that? Any questions? Mrs. DiFilippo, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I actually had my hand up in regards to the prior matter, but I can address it at call to the public.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Let's drop down then to racing industry report. Do we have somebody online for us?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Danny Vella with the Department of Gaming, and I'll be giving the presentation. I believe we have the slideshow, if Drew could.
Let's see if they can pull that up. In the meantime, Commissioner York, you raised your hand. Do you want to speak now?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a couple of context questions on this. Why is the report produced and who is the audience? Who is it presented to ultimately? I don't know if it goes beyond this commission or what the intended purpose is.
What report are you referring to?
The one that Mr. Vella is about to present.
Well, let's see what he has to say, and then Mr. Vella, do you have your PowerPoint?
So it is not shared. I guess I could share it myself, but it doesn't look like I have the authority to do that.
I don't have said presentation either, Danny. If you share it with me or somebody sends it to me, I can present. Otherwise, you can present if you have it.
Okay, just a moment.
Sure. In the meantime, Mrs. DiFilippo, you had something to say?
Yes, it's Dr. Joanne DeFilippo. Thank you, Madam
Sorry
Chair.
about that.
Commissioners.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, one of the things that I'm bringing up, because this is now repetitive through this meeting, is so that we comply with Arizona Open Meeting Law, Section 7.7. When we have these reports coming on, whether it's the budget, whether it's this new presentation, et cetera, and I believe this might be what Commissioner York is alluding to in a bit, is that this information needs to be presented in advance or in a link or somewhere, because you can't keep putting this information post the agenda, post at the meeting. It doesn't give the public time to review the materials. So I recommend, and I highly stress that these links be put into the agenda so that we are in compliance with Arizona Open Meeting Law, Section 7.7. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And just as a point of criticism, I'm going to respond in that regard. I'm going to take it as a criticism. I believe that it is in compliance with open meeting law. It has been agendized. The attachments don't have to be attached at the same time. However, I do agree with you, and I know that we'll ask the staff to provide this information whenever possible prior to a meeting. If not, we will definitely have it ready for you after a meeting. I would ask that the staff make these reports and any attachments available on the website or as an addendum to our agenda. In that regard, let's go ahead and move forward and get the report. We've got the PowerPoint available now.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
So good morning, everyone. This presentation is designed essentially to shed light on the racing industry through various lenses. So we're going to begin by examining pre-pandemic concerns, and then we'll examine the industry internationally in both the UK and Australian markets, the industry nationally here in the US, and the implementation of HISA, and then we'll conclude with examining the local industry here in Arizona. Please understand if commissioners or members of the public have any follow-up questions regarding this presentation, I will kindly defer you to the sources provided, and we'll make this presentation available to you upon request. And we do encourage you to review all of the sources for more context. In this first slide here, we'll begin with the concerns in the industry pre-pandemic. So there was already recognized industry-wide struggle to connect with and engage with new fans amid increased indirect competition, vying for the attention of younger consumers specifically, such as other sports, football, baseball, hockey, basketball, etc. 45% of the demographic market for racing are over 56 years old, and younger consumers are not as drawn to the sport. They tend to be concerned with the environmental impact, the treatment of the animals, and other social issues. And while I'll note some of these concerns and negative publicity may not be entirely accurate, but they still do have a significant impact on the perception of the younger generation, mostly because of the influence of the internet and social media. The horse racing has descended in terms of popularity. It was once, from 1985 to 2016, it went from being the 8th most popular sport, with 4% of Americans listing it as their favorite sport, to the 13th most popular sport, which is 1% of Americans listing it as their favorite sport. Suggested efforts from members of the racing community to reconnect with old fans and cultivate an interest in younger generation include using out-of-the-box ideas to draw attention. So some of these ideas include tracks offering wearable merchandise such as shirts and hats, offering attractions for children to encourage more families to attend the tracks, so they could offer things like pony rides or other games and attractions, and also a more increased social media promotion to engage the younger generation, and also special events or promotions for adults, such as drink specials, concerts, celebrity appearances during meets, etc. Moving on to the next slide. So in this one, we'll examine the international market, specifically in the United Kingdom, where horse racing is currently the second largest sport. Despite the popularity in the UK, they do face similar struggles as the US, and there are concerns of dwindling attendance and a lack of popularity with the younger demographic. For the first time in 25 years, UK saw their attendance for race meets dip below 5 million. Tracks in the UK have began to combat this reduced attendance by implementing new marketing strategies, as suggested in the previous slide. They've done things such as free admission, special events for children, and other out-of-the-box ideas. They struggle with the concerns for animal rights, and so animal rights groups pose a challenge for the industry there as well. And this has hindered prize money and lowered it to the point that, it is a struggle for tracks in the UK as well, and has impacted the competitiveness in the UK racing with international markets. On the next slide, please. Moving on to Australia. Australia has perhaps the strongest racing industry in the world per capita, and racing is an important contributor to the Australian economy. They are not without struggle, though. There are two big struggles in the Australian market currently, which include animal welfare concerns and protests, etc., as well as money laundering schemes. So the protesting in Australia began more heavily in 2019 and has continued. The public has began concentrated efforts to push for more protections of the animals, and also increasing care for injured horses or horses that are unsuccessful or have retired. In addition, Australia, because of the fact that Australian legislation currently lacks the ability to effectively combat the money laundering issues, this is an ongoing issue that doesn't really have an end in sight for the Australian market. And they are very limited in terms of their tracking for transactions and reporting requirements for high dollar transactions. So that's something that market is currently struggling with. Next slide, please. Now for a more homebound focus, nationally here in the US, the horse racing market, or industry rather, has a $4.9 billion market size as of 2023. Market growth has declined in 2023 alone. It declined by 1.9%. And from 2018 to 2023, a period of 5 years, it has decreased 5.2%. Horse racing and gambling both face similar levels of stagnation and decline due to the low disposable incomes of consumers, due to the ongoing inflation and other economic circumstances that the U.S. is currently facing, as well as increased competition from other entertainment forms and changing preferences of consumers, such as electronic wagering, which we'll get into in the next slide. This has encouraged the merging of a lot of entertainment facilities to increase industry concentration on racing and to limit options for consumers and workers in other markets. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, this segues into the electronic wagering and the impact that it has had on the racing industry. So electronic wagering, as it's grown, it has changed the way, obviously, that consumers wager. So this has caused shifts in revenue streams, market dynamics, and consumer behavior. Since the legalization of electronic wagering, there is a heightened competition with other sports, as mentioned earlier, such as football and basketball, which are indirect competitors of racing, but they do share a similar fan base of older men with higher disposable income and more leisure time. This further alludes to the importance of engaging newer fans and re-engaging old fans to bring them back to the racing industry amid competition from the other sports. And then obviously the expansion of the electronic wagering has caused some to predict that other sports may cannibalize existing markets, including racing. So obviously the more popular sports, football, basketball, baseball, etc., and even collegiate sports are at a heightened popularity. Now, obviously, as we know, HISA was implemented following high injury and fatality rates of the 2019 racing season. There were 441 thoroughbred racehorses that suffered fatal injuries, and the fatality rate was 2.5 to 5 times greater per race start than Europe and Asia in 2019, which sparked HISA. And as we know, HISA addresses issues such as track surface, training, drug use, and testing, and establishes a uniform set of rules and standards for states to adhere to Drug testing proved to be different than in other countries based on the House Committee report when they established HISA, and they recognized a strong struggle to standardize testing procedures across states. And therefore, there's been the implementation of HISA, and that has impacted the industry in ways that we have yet to see completely. So more time will tell how HISA will continue to impact the industry. And lastly, we'll conclude with just the local Arizona state horse racing industry. Historically, horse racing has had a significant economic impact. In addition to tax revenues from pari-mutuel racing and revenues from the tracks, the sport's also impacted other industries such as breeding, grooming, veterinary care, farming, etc. A 2016 study found that Turf Paradise contributed an annual economic impact of $91 million to the state of Arizona, and every $1 injected into the racing industry had an economic impact of $2 on the state economy. So racing contributed nearly doubled its return on investment, essentially, for the state. And while many articles have questioned the economic viability of Arizona's tracks, reports have not made it clear as to whether the figure has remained the same today in terms of the economic impact as it was in 2016. But regardless of whether these numbers have changed, us continuing to analyze the historical trends and the significance and economic impacts of horse racing can help us to develop solutions to improve the trajectory and help the sport to grow. And that's the importance of this presentation and us continuing to monitor the state of the industry. This does conclude my presentation. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. That is a lot of information. I appreciate all your hard work. I do like to see this on the website, maybe as an addendum to the agenda, so that it's readily available to everyone. And then if they have further questions, they can reach out to you directly. Does that work for you, Mr. Villa?
Yes, that is fine. I'll work with the department to ensure we can post that on the website.
Great, great. And just as sympathetic to the public as well, knowing that you're going to have a racing industry report, if at all possible, if you can make that public prior to the meeting, just as a transparency issue, so that we can make sure that everybody gets that information ahead of time, I'd appreciate that. Very, very good report. Let's move on down then to the report on the International Horse Racing Integrity Act. Mr. Guestman, are you available?
Yes, Chair Gutierrez.
There you are.
Yes, it takes a while to get off this mute.
I know.
Commissioners, Chair Gutierrez and Commissioners Leroy Guestman with the National HPPA report on the HISA update. We still have not received a decision from the 5th District Court. However, there is a lot of, anticipation of it coming sometime in the early part of May. So possibly by the next commission meeting, we will have a better understanding of what the 5th District Court is going to do. I'm sure we all believe the other court cases, the other 5 court cases are all just being kind of held to see what the 5th Court does. One other thing I would just like to mention, as you all know, the state legislature is in the middle of a battle with the budget, and we have just received some updated information from HISA, which I'm sure the department has as well. For the 2024 assessments, in the past couple, since HISA started, there has been a line item in the budget to cover the HISA assessments. However, last year, the amount that was put into the budget did not cover the total amount. So Turf Paradise and the HPPA were obligated to pay the difference. And I was hoping that maybe with the help of the department and the help of HISA, we could come up with the exact amount that's going to be anticipated for 2024, and get that amount committed for the budget so we get the correct amount in the budget for this year. So if any help from the department we can get in that area would be helpful. Any questions?
My mic was off. No questions. I would ask that the staff work with Mr. Gussman regarding his concerns on the budget and perhaps bring it back to us next month and let us know what's happening. Any other comments on that? All right, let's move down to 6 permittee reports. Do we have anybody from Arizona American Greyhound Racing?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Aaron Feinberg for American Greyhound Racing.
Yes,
we
sir.
have no update this month. Thank you.
Thank you. How about county fairs?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is Dr. Joanne DeFilippo, and I'm reporting on behalf of the Pima County Fair Horse Race Commission. The county is pretty much in, I want to say maybe close to the final stages of getting the RFP ready to go out for the new contract operator. And one of the things that the commission has reminded the county of, because remember, we're dealing with Board of Supervisors who are oftentimes not always knowledgeable about the entire process of operators. So one of the things that we're working with them on is it's not only the selection of the operator by the county, but also to make sure that it can pass compliance and approval of the Arizona Department of Racing and the HPBA. Because those are 3 elements that you need to have a successful contract operator. And the second is that we'd like to thank the commission for approving our county fair race days that we ran at Turf Paradise. 3 of the days were run. We've received the remuneration from Turf Paradise, and thank you so much. And these are in our foundation savings account, which we will be doing the public report on May the 1st. And we will be using the funds for the FY25 Rillito racetrack season. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And perhaps we can, I'll reach out to the staff. I'm going to be careful about what I say here, but maybe we can do some education or some meeting with the Board of Supervisors as far as racing and see what we can do to work together. Any further comments on that? All right, let's drop on down then to the next Rillito Park. Do we have anybody? Turf Paradise? Mr. Friend?
Thank you, Chairwoman Contreras. Anything else from Turf? If there are any questions, we are now proceeding towards the closing of the race meet, which will be the first Saturday of May, Kentucky Derby Day. Negotiations between Mr. Sims and the HBPA concerning contract for future meets here at Turf are considering. Mr. Sims can comment more on that. And did I understand correctly that Mr. Vela's report will be posted on the website? Otherwise, I would appreciate being emailed a copy of that. That was quite a bit of information all at once.
Yes, sir. I've asked them to post it on the website under the agenda as an addendum, so it's easily found by everybody. If not, I would recommend that you reach out to the staff.
Okay. Any question, I'd be happy to ask. If not, that's all I have from Turf Paradise.
Well, thank you, sir. Any other questions for Turf Paradise? All right, dropping down to C7, optional industry stakeholder association updates. Do we have anything from Arizona County Racing Association?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is Dr. Joanne DeFilippo again. I had a conversation recently with Director Casillas regarding this. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. And for all practical purposes, it looks like it probably should be dissolved. But what we're doing is just doing a final review to make sure that it does not impact anything with legislative actions, et cetera. But we will keep you informed.
Excellent.
It appears at this point that there's maybe only the Pima County Fair Horse Racing Commission, which is the acting viable entity to this association. And Pima County Fair Horse Racing Commission does have a separate 501c3. So we don't want to be redundant, but at the same time, we don't want to eliminate an association that has a legislative purpose.
Great. Keep us posted. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the doctor? If not, let's drop down to Arizona Quarter Horse Racing Association. All right. Let's drop down then to the Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association. Do we have anybody online? And how about Jockeys Guild?
Morning, Madam Chair.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Go ahead, Leroy.
Madam Chair,
Thank
can
you,
you hear
Daryl.
me?
Okay, there's Lloyd.
There he
I'll let
is.
Lloyd take over.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
I'm having extreme difficulties in staying online and staying connected even by the phone. So hopefully someday we can get back to live meetings. But anyway, that being said, it's extremely difficult and frustrating to try to keep up with this with these technical difficulties. But anyway, that being said, this is Lloyd Yother. If it pleases the chair, I'd like to include C7, B, and D, the Arizona Quarter Horse Racing Association and the Horsemen's Benevolence Protection Association.
Absolutely, sir. Go ahead.
I don't have much to report at this point in time, other than the fact that we've been in negotiations with management with Turf Paradise for a future race meet at Turf Paradise. Things are looking better than they have in quite some time, and we'll have more to report and hopefully have some good information to pass on by the next commission meeting. Other than that, I think it's been stated, we've finished our 11th week of abbreviated race meet. And we've got 3 weeks left, which amounts to about 14 days, provided the weather and we don't have any more cancellations. But that being said, everything's going fairly normal with the meet at Turf, and we're looking forward to reports next month on what our future might be. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. And did we have anybody from Jockeys Guild?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, good morning. This is Daryl here, Western Regional Manager of the Jockeys Guild. Madam Chair, I'm happy to report that racing at Turf Paradise this season has vastly improved with the horses and jockeys and trainers. The jockey colony is just fabulous. These riders that are in that colony can compete anywhere in the country. We have some of the best riders that are there in the nation. And it's been really a pleasure working with the state, PISA management. It's been very productive. I was at the races yesterday, or most of the day, and walking throughout the grounds. And there are still some critical areas that needed to be addressed. And with this safety and welfare committee that was established, where the communication is there, I'm looking forward to this meeting on the 19th. The racetrack, I should say the turf course, is the best I've seen in years. I remember it brought back memories when I flew in there in 1985 to ride a horse for Bobby Frankel on the turf. And it was a really good turf course. And it reminded me when I was out there yesterday what a good turf course it is. Because now it's been maintained and they've given it time to grow the grass this year. And the maintenance has been good. So it made me happy because again, it brought back really a lot of good memories. and the feeling there, the horsemen, and they work so hard that it, it was a good feeling. It really was. So, again, I'm just looking forward to this meeting on the 19th so we can move forward and working with the commission for the future to keep racing going in Arizona for these hardworking horsemen. It's only the right thing to do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, any questions before we drop down? We have commission's report. Anything from any of the staff or Director Casillas? And how about identification of matters be placed on future agenda? I would ask the staff to add for next month. I would like to readdress the schedule for the remainder of the year to be able to have a discussion about what's going to work best for everybody as far as maintaining the Friday schedule if we have to be in person, or if we can do in-person meetings but have a different day with the end of racing at the end of May. So if we can address that next month, I'd appreciate it. Anybody else have any comments? If not, we'll drop down to call to the public. Right now, I have two. Mr. Guessman, did you have anything that you needed to speak on call to the public? And we'll give you time to get your mic going.
Yes, Chair Contreras. I don't have anything for call to the public. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. How about Dr. DiFilippo?
Madam Chair, I believe if possible, I think on the line is Mike Hagan. I don't know. Can you see? Mike, are you there? Because I will revert to him first if that with your approval. Otherwise, I will speak.
No, that's absolutely fine. Is he online? All right. If he gets online, we'll defer to him. In the meantime, Dr. DiFilippo, what do you have for us?
Okay. First off, I'd like to thank you. It wasn't a criticism on those appendixes and links and that. It's just there's some really valuable information there that is very critical to all of us in this industry. So thank you.
Yes.
What I'm going to address, this is actually what Mike was going to address. I just happen to have the notes, so I will deliver it for him because it doesn't appear he can get on. This is in regards to the new Sundance Downs. And I would like the commissioners and the public to know that the terms and conditions have all been met for the new Sundance Downs Equestrian Center and Racetrack, and that the developers will be commencing Sundance Downs, and they're proceeding with the mid-May closure of escrow, and they're pulling all the permits. And they will be, they're filing their application with the Arizona Department of Racing. So things are moving forward, and I believe Mr. Hagan will be in more direct contact with Director Casillas and therefore the commissioners.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any further comments from the public before we drop down? All right, with that, we do have our next meeting is in person. It will be a limited agenda. It's a public hearing for 1 p.m. on Tuesday, April 30th. It'll be at the offices of the Racing Commission at 100 North 15th Avenue, Suite 302. We'll have that one in public. Did I see somebody else raise their hand? Yes, Mr. Nolan, go ahead. We'll open it up for you for a few minutes.
Thank you once again, Commissioner, Chair and Commissioners. Just two things that I'd like to state. One, that you mentioned more transparency is needed. It's been, a lot's been silenced over the years. I saw an item on the agenda that I did try to ask for more transparency. It has to do with item B2. And these concerns deal with the negative impact that the litigations of 14 years and 8 years are having on the integrity and welfare of the Arizona agricultural businesses of horse racing and breeding. Now, everybody has the right to due process and the right to litigate. However, when it is involving to this extent, what I believe is damage to an industry that also has oversight, I just think there's another word that I'm going to use is awareness. There's a big awareness needed for more transparency. There's awareness needed on how did we get here in order to prevent us from being further. Now, in 2006, this department recommended the denial of Mr. Sims's license. And the Racing Commission, believe it or not, the Racing Commission gave him an unconditional license without any problems to be rectified. That's 18 years, and you wonder how we got to where we are. I live in the community here near Turf Paradise, and there are several structures. There's more than 60 structures on that facility, several of which are unusable. I don't know if the right word would be condemned. Part of the building is closed down. The turf club, the director's room of this facility. And this is a problem for not only my community, but for the whole racing industry. We need awareness in order to move forward. This industry has the chance to move forward. We hope that the negotiations go well with the horsemen and Mr. Sims, so that people don't have their lives and livelihoods bothered so much like last year, on again, off again. That was just absolutely horrendous what happened. I believe it should be put under investigation, but needless to say, we have a chance to move forward. HISA, the state, things are different. This is a beautiful industry, the first sport of our state, and awareness. These people are racing participants, and the wagering public deserve more transparency. And I'd like to say one thing about the budget. There's a lot of concern out here on what happens if there is the ceasing of horse racing operations on May 31st. Live racing ceases Kentucky Derby Day. If there's no contract, horse racing operations cease when simulcasting goes away. Now, that's a concern because of what happened last Thursday at the rezoning. Rezoning occurred to make it all one unified zone. And rezoning takes place upon the ceasing of horse racing operations and the redevelopment of any portion of that property. That's a huge concern. What happens if this happens? How does it affect the budget of the department, the RWA? Who's going to pick up the slack? Do we have stewards? Will there be money for testing? Right now, the budget seems good, but no one is addressing the potential damage, collateral damage that could occur. I thank you for using that word, Chair, transparency. This industry needs much more of it. For years, we've been silenced, and we got a chance to move forward. And with that, again, Commissioners, Chair, and Chair, I thank you for your time, and understand my goal, awareness. There are people empowered to do the duty to protect the welfare of this industry. Let's bring enough awareness to have the power to do so. And I thank you.
Madam Chair, you're on mute.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's what happens when I'm working on a laptop. At any rate, thank you, Mr. Nolan. I appreciate it. We'll drop back down to the next scheduled meeting on April 30th. Dr. DiFilippo, I'll give you just a few minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Mike Hagan is on the line through my phone, so I've got the phone put up. Mike, can you speak?
I can hear you.
Can you hear him?
Yes, ma'am. Let's go ahead.
Okay. Mike, go ahead.
Well, I don't know where I'm going ahead to, but I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Mike Hagan, the gentleman has been in the process of getting all the land acquisitions made over at Goodyear to build a new equestrian center and racetrack. And I'll tell you, it's been very challenging, but we finally got all the agreements in and signed, and we're ready to go forward. We've had several meetings with Goodyear. Everybody's on the right page. We've got a couple of small holes. Well, actually one big hole that we've got to work on to get filled. But I'm extremely encouraged. We've got all the financing set up, got the money in line, and we're ready to go. And from here on, it's just move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, sir. I appreciate it.
I don't know that you've seen the plans on what we've got. I've given them to several people. I don't know if you saw it, but it's not going to be a hillbilly mess. It's going to be a first-class, world-class operation.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner York?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under the umbrella of transparency, I really don't know much about the Sundowns Equestrian Center and Racetrack. So I don't know the best way to get the information to us, but I know very little.
Joanne, do you have a copy of the plot plan with you?
Yes, I will forward again all the information to Director Casillas so he can disseminate it to the commissioners.
That's an excellent way of handling it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will ask if we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I'll make that second. Anna?
Thank you. With the motion by Commissioner York
Sundance
and a
down,
second by
it's so apropos. I mean,
Mr.
I know
Vancia.
you've never talked to this guy, but he's a.
Mr. Francia, your
He's a-
mic is,
Madam Secretary, we have
I
a
just muted
motion
him.
and a second.
thank you.
Sorry. I have a motion by Commissioner York and a second by Madam Chair French Contreras. I will call the roll. Madam Chair French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York.
Yes.
Thank you. The time now is 12:05 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. If everyone can please exit the meeting.
Thank you.